and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and this is my review for Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2. So dear viewer, Blood Omen 2 originally released in 2002. A year I remember fondly as the year I first played such fantastic video games as the Resident Evil remake, Onimusha 2, and The Thing. It was also the year I was bitten by a vampire in my local gaming boutique. But we are not here to talk about that nonsense. No, we are here to discuss Blood Omen 2. And just like that beautiful bearded bastard Barry Bertrum, you're probably wondering,
what is this? What is it? What is this?
Blood Omen 2 is, unsurprisingly, a sequel to 1996's Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. But unlike that game, which was a top-down perspective nightmare, Blood Omen 2 is an action-adventure game thing that continues the story of Kain, vampire extraordinaire, as he sets out on a quest to continue his ascent to power. Basically, this is a villain origin story, though technically the first Blood Omen was that. And technically, this game takes place in an alternate timeline created by the events of Soul Reaver 2. Look, these games are very bloody confusing. You play as a vampire, he turns evil. What more do you need to know?
Well, personally, I'd like to know how Kain...
That was a rhetorical question, Bertrum.
Oh.
So let's review this fourth entry in the Legacy of Kain video game series, the only way I know how. Badly. And let's start with what I liked about Blood Omen 2. Speaking of things I like it when you subscribe to the channel and like this video. So do that, dear viewer, if you don't mind. The first thing I simply must commend Blood Omen 2 for is continuing its predecessor's splendid voice acting. 'Tis rather good for a game older than a Catholic priest's love interests. You'll recognize some of the voices, most notably Simon Templeman, who voices Kain in every single Legacy of Kain video game. He was also in a movie called Live Nude Girls, which I am most definitely not putting on my watch list. The game also looks 1,237 times better than the original Blood Omen, which looked about as good as Baby's first attempt to draw the Sistine Chapel. The game is also a rather fun affair gameplay-wise, mixing exploration, combat, and platforming not too dissimilar to some of the better Tomb Raider games. Kain is also blessed with some nice abilities like a teleporting jump thing, and the ability to possess enemies and make them do important things like pull switches Kain can't reach or pull their underpants down at inappropriate moments. Well, maybe not that second one. There's also some very light puzzle solving, but this is most definitely an action game. You'll spend more time fighting than a courtesan spends on their back. There's also plenty of varied locales, and some good boss fights to get your teeth stuck into. Pardon the pun. Well, I think I've sung the praises of this little vampire simulator sequel thingy enough. So let's talk about what I didn't like so much about Blood Omen 2. For a start, the game doesn't look amazing by today's standards, even on the PlayStation 5, which I played the game on for this very review.
That's not fair. This game is old.
So am I, and I still hate me. Especially on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oh, and the second week in June. I also found Blood Omen 2 to outstay its welcome just a little bit, with the final 2 chapters in particular feeling a little long and filled with too many puzzles for my liking. The final boss was also a pain in the neck. Pardon the pun. But once I consulted a helpful tome of knowledge, also known as a walkthrough, the final boss went down faster than a stick insect trying to fight a gorilla. What else did I dislike about this game? Oh yes, a lack of subtitles. I'm old. My hearing isn't what it once was. Now, some of you out there might say that's a me problem, and you'd be absolutely right. It is your problem. So get on to Crystal Dynamics or whoever made this game and tell them I want bloody subtitles. Haha. The game also doesn't feature any werewolf intercourse, which is always a negative in my book. And that brings me rather nicely to my final thoughts for this game. This is a fun action-adventure game starring a vampire with luscious hair. Therefore, I declare that Blood Omen 2 is splendid. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for Blood Omen 2. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Say goodbye, Bertram.
Goodbye, Bertram.
Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.